Hi, come on in. Welcome to my studio. So all of my work that you'll be seeing, it's called Notes from the Sea, and it's about people throwing trash into the ocean or industrial waste or plastic bottles that have morphed into marine life. And the turtles are trying to make their way through all of these objects. Sometimes I have found objects that I picked up around the lake, the beach. I have netting. I adhere all that down. Um, you can see found objects again that are glued down to the paper, and that one has netting on top as well. You'll see the sea turtle quite a lot, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that means. But you can see there's a lot more found objects glued down or collaged down. So, machine parts, industrial waste, plastic bottles, all the stuff that gets thrown into the ocean and the lakes. This piece is in process, so I'm trying to decide where I want to put my objects, what I want it to look like. That piece on top is finished, and you can see again the sea turtle, which is a symbol of perseverance. Oh, so this is where I store a lot of pieces, and I can look at them if I want, and if I don't want, I can close them down. They're out of sight. Here's the paper that I print on. I've made this paper. It's got pigmented pulp that I mark onto the paper while it's wet and forming. And then once it dries, it's actually part of the paper. It's in the paper itself. And that helps me to find where I want to put my shapes, those different marks that I've made. Here are some of the shapes that have been actually printed from wood blocks and linoleum blocks and cut out. So I'm going to talk about the sea turtle again. It is a symbol of endurance. It perseveres through obstacles. It's a symbol of longevity, a symbol of creativity. And because of its perseverance and its endurance, it's also a symbol to me of the artist, how the artist just perseveres and continues to work through any obstacle that may come up. So now I'm going to show you about registration. I've taken a piece of Mylar and I printed the block on the Mylar so I can decide where to place it. I glue it down with blue tape once I figure out where I want it to be. And then I will turn the paper over and I will mark, these are called registration marks, and I will mark the top, label it, and the right side, and the bottom, and then the left. And I make sure it hasn't moved. I keep holding it carefully. And that's going to be my template when I go to print. So I'll know where to line the paper up. So now what I'm going to do is carefully lift that paper up and tape that Mylar onto the newsprint, making sure it's stayed lined up, hasn't shifted or moved. And then I can lift my paper off. That blue tape will keep it from ripping. It's, you know, you can take that tape off and reuse it, but it doesn't tear the paper. So I'm now lining my block up with to the Mylar and making sure it's all lined up carefully, nudging it a little so it's lined right up. And then I can take the Mylar off, hold that block down carefully, and outline where it's going to go. So once I ink it up, I'll know where to put it on this template. All right, so now we'll take that over to the press. And it's just a torn piece of newsprint. I reuse my newsprint, but it will work as a template. I'm picking out pieces of dried skin from the ink, rolling it up. I usually roll it 5 or 6 times onto the block. I found that gives me a pretty good image. You'll notice that I'm rolling in different directions, so I don't have the line of where the roller applied the ink. So move it in different directions, and it's just about done. Good. Now, most people will print everything on one sheet of paper at one time, but since I'm using individual blocks and individual shapes, I'm cleaning all the ink off around the shape. So I don't want any of the cut marks that are around that spinning object. I hold it in up to the light, so with the glare I can see if I missed any places and clean that up. And now it's all clean, ready to go to the press. Now I can line it up in that outlined area, make sure it's in the right place. And I'm going to place my paper very carefully, lined up with those registration marks, being careful not to get the paper on that inked block. I don't want any smears. So I've got all my registration marks lined up, and now it's down. Once it's down, it's down. You can't lift it up and redo it or it'll be blurred. You carefully hold that down, put the tympan down, and now I'm going to give it a head start and roll it through the press. All right, so let's see how I did. Good, enough ink. It's right where I want it to be. I'll probably print on that piece of paper more with more images. And now you can see some of the work that I've done, and if you want to see more, you can go to my website. In some of these you'll recognize there's a shape that looks like a plastic bottle, but it's morphed into maybe a plant or a marine object. It shows up periodically. Let's see if it shows up again. Notice the gear parts on this one, the repetition of those. There's the plastic bottle in the middle there that has turned into a plant, and there it is again. And one more time. So that repeats. Now these are called Mending the World, and if you're interested, you can look on my website.